Welcome to Work the Left Side. I'm joined tonight by Mr. Franco Fate. How are you doing, buddy? You good?
I'm all good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all good, mate. 5x5. Enjoying. Well, I'm looking forward to this chat. It's been a long time coming. You've been somebody that I've kind of been. I think we talked about it beforehand, kind of thing. Where it's like, I want to message him. I want to invite him onto the show, but he's a scary-looking bastard. So I'm a bit hesitant. And it's like, go on. I got the balls to do it, and I invited you on, and here you are.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. It's quite funny actually. You're not the first person to say that as well. There's been a couple of times at intervals at shows where people have kind of reluctantly came up to me and go, "Oh, is it all right if I have a photo?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. It's fine. You know what I mean? It's all good. It's all good."
That's the thing, though. Like, I think we was talking about it before with somebody else. It's always like the big guys, the scary guys. Nicest guys in the world. You generally sort of find that, and in most walks of life as well, not just in wrestling. You see some big ass dude with loads of tattoos. You're like, oh, and it's like you'd be the first person to help you cross the street if you needed it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. Actually, I was watching Dark Side of the Ring a couple of nights ago, and it was the Bam Bam Bigelow episode, and everyone says he was this big scary dude, but sort of with his family and stuff and his friends, he was like the nicest guy going. So yeah, I think it rings true in all walks of life, to be fair.
Dead or giant, that's it. So obviously, again, before I hit record, checking in on the dates and stuff, and mate, yeah, you're still pretty fresh. I don't know, I always kind of thought, I think it's because you've done so much in like a short period of time. I thought you'd been around for longer than you had, but we're 3 years into the journey so far. You made your debut late 21.
Yeah, so it's one of them really, because I'm sort of in my mid-30s now, and when I was a teenager, I did actually just want to be a wrestler, but I didn't know. I think it was still one of those kind of dark arts kind of things where you had to know someone who trained at a wrestling school to then get into the business kind of thing. And it wasn't until I moved to Nottingham in 2019, got a couple of friends that live here, and found out about Styx's place, House of Pain, and I moved in on the Friday, and then on the Saturday straight in on an open day, and I was bumping in a ring. It was good fun. It was good fun, and then lo and behold, it took a couple of years before I got my debut due to COVID. But then as we were coming out of that, had a great opportunity from Megaslam to get my debut in front of a crowd, and got my first match against Styx. So it couldn't have been any better, honestly.
Dude, that's the dream as well, isn't it? For like most people, like when you're at school, most people, if they've never had a match against, like the mentor, the teacher kind of thing, that's one thing like they always want to get ticked off. And that was like, one of your first big things was getting in the ring with, and you're a big boy, and Styx is a big boy. It's just like, slapping meat.
Yeah, we always have a hell of a time whenever we have a match together. I think we've wrestled each other 4 or 5 times now, and each time's just been a blast. And the great thing is, because you're in there with your mentor, you're just learning something new every single time. But I think the last time was over in Ireland back end of last year, and it's like a 20-minute opener, and we got all the meaty man sort of spots in there. It was good fun. It was good fun.
That's a hell of an opening to a show, though. I can imagine going to a show and just seeing you two guys come on first. Or just be like, wow, okay, there we go. This is setting the bar. This is the tone of the show. This is where we're going. Just absolute, like say, 20-minute just banger. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so you mentioned, shout out to Nottingham. Anybody doesn't know, I'm a Nottingham boy. Obviously, I live in Leeds now, but I still class myself as a Nottingham boy. I've resisting the urge to get the Yorkshire accent. Hopefully, I still sound like I'm Nottinghamish. So yeah, kudos for moving to Nottingham. Job well done.
Yes, I must admit it's one of my favourite cities in the UK, and that's not just because I live here. Because I'm originally from Chester in the northwest, so I grew up around there. 20 minutes from All Star, which like finding that out so many years later, after growing up there, it was a bit of a kicker, but still, these things happen for a reason. And so I grew up around the Chester area. Spent most of my teenage years and early 20s in Manchester in the hardcore and metal scene, and then that kind of dropped off a little bit, and then saw an opportunity. It was more through my job, in terms of where I worked. They sold the business off to a third party contract manufacturer. So as that happened, I saw an opportunity working for Walker's Crisps in Leicester. So if you ever need snacks, I'm your guy, basically. But as that happened, I found a place in Nottingham. I've got quite a few friends here through getting to know them through the hardcore and metal scene, and I've got some family here as well. And I've had many a good night in Nottingham. It's one of them. It's like a big town / small city. Like everybody knows each other, but it's not like a vast city, like for instance, like Manchester or Birmingham or London. But it's got its own like thing going on as well, especially within like the metal scene. I feel like there's quite a few sort of like the wrestling, deathmatch, metal scene is all kind of intertwined. You'll see familiar faces in all those kind of in those areas whenever there's events going on around Nottingham and Derby. So
it's a good base of operations. Basically, it's a good place to sort of set up shop, and you can get to like different things. Going back to sticks kind of thing. Have you Joey Cement on previously, and he was on about the sticks handshake. It's basically equivalent of like a Port Hollywood off the Bake Off kind of thing. If you do something right, you get a handshake off sticks. It's like it's not the handshake, sorry, it's a hug off sticks. That was what it was. It wasn't the handshake. It's the sticks hug.
Yeah, it's kind of a mix between the two. Maybe it's slightly different depending on your size. Like, so I'm a bit bigger than Joey, but I get like the sort of from Predator, the Arnold handshake, and then brings it in for a hug at the end when you've done a good job. Satisfying.
I can just feel the satisfaction of it. Just be like, yeah, there we go. So, and obviously House of Pain, dude. I mean, that's another thing that kind of made me sort of basically, nut up or shut up. Was Sash was basically like, I did like a tweet like, who do people want to see on the show? And Sash even, probably one moment, I don't know if it was nice or, if he just wanted to get you on to get his back, or so you could big him up. But yeah, Sash was all over it. Like, say, get Franco on. I want to see Franco on the show.
Yeah, he is the boss after all. Especially with the Money Mountain patch, that's something I'm a part of, and it's starting to bleed out into other promotions as well. You might see a couple of us up in Burnley Pro Wrestling this weekend, but then we've obviously got the story going on with FUTR, and then that's gone on into Tidal, and and it could pop up in a couple of other places. We'll just see how it goes, but ultimately, I do get a bit of a paycheck from him, so I've got to pick him up sometimes. He is a good boss after all.
Oh, there you go, man. That's it. As long as you're getting as long as you're getting paid, as long as you get the bonus. That's what I want as well. I like the idea with that. I think British wrestling needs more factions, but factions in between promotions kind of thing. I want to see you pop up here. I want to see you pop up there. I want to see you causing chaos here, kind of thing. I think that's what you guys are doing quite well at the minute.
Yeah, like for instance, the long-going feud with Alton and Hellbound, and how that. Well, we all thought it was going to come to a head at the last show at Sutton and Ashfield, but then obviously he's unfortunately, or fortunately for him, won the Rumble last month for the charity show. And now it's me versus him on the 22nd at Sutton and Ashfield. So we've faced each other a few times up and down the UK, but I think it's just going to be a classic arse-kicking contest. And there's a lot of people hoping that he's going to win, but there's going to be a lot of disappointed fans at the end of the night, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to call it. This is one of those moments where I kind of I'll sit on the fence. I'll be, plead the fifth and be like, I will say this for certain though, it will be an awesome match, and whoever wins, as long as there's no shady tactics, will have deserved to have won.
We'll see about that. I do go by the motto by any means necessary. So we'll see what happens. Whether things change and that sort of tactic gets thrown out of the window with different stipulations that could potentially come in, who knows? But it's one of them with FUTR on the Saturday, and then we've got Kumite on the Sunday. It could be a bit of a hardcore weekend, especially with the likes of myself and Alton, and the way we don't just do the, well, shall we say, the PG stuff. We also go to the extreme as well. So we'll see what happens.
Dude, I think a wise man once said, after you've been through all that, couple of cans of Red Stripe, couple of aspirins, Bosh.
Yeah.
Jobs are gonna.
Yeah, true. I mean, I must admit, with the sort of deathmatch promotions that I work for, the fans more than they're more than supportive of all the guys that are on the show. And I must admit, when I did the Bleeding Gums show, there was a fair few free beers that came my way after that, which sort of numbed the pain a little bit afterwards, because as soon as that adrenaline starts dropping off, that's when the pain starts creeping in.
Dude, I was speaking to Alfie about this a couple of weeks ago, and she was all about she broke her arm during a match kind of thing, and didn't realise, and I've heard it from other people, but adrenaline, it's like the best painkiller in the world until it wears off, like you said, and then it's just like,
yeah. There's been a few times I've woken up the next morning and I've gone, yeah, I'm a bit sore from that. You didn't think about it at the time, but then when you're on the drive home and then you sat there for like 2 or 3 hours in the same position, you get out of the car, it's a different feeling entirely.
Dude, and to be fair, talking about like the whole deathmatch while we're talking about it, just mentioned Kumite. Again, another promotion, as I mentioned, Alfie mentioned them before. Radu's mentioned them. Definitely promotion I would recommend anyone go out of the way to go check out. They do some amazing stuff. I'd love to try and speak to some people, kind of thing. But the whole deathmatch scene as a whole, I think over the last couple of years, that has evolved. It's leaped forward like hugely. It's kind of a lot more people are kind of paying more attention to it. They're sort of paying it a hell of a lot more respect. And it's getting the acknowledgement, for guys like yourself, obviously Lou, Radu, Caden, all those guys, Big fucking Joe, and obviously people I haven't mentioned as well. There's no disrespect. They're just first 5 names. Dude, to be a part of that must be awesome.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, it's a scene that sort of came from the likes of Iceman Jack Harrop's dad, obviously. All the hardcore and extreme stuff he did, 10, 15 years ago, and he's been, carrying that kind of scene on his back for so many years. And then to see, obviously, the inception of Rise, and then the popularity that grew from that, and then we started to see TNT starting to do a couple of death matches and stuff, and then more recently, with Fletcher Malachi over the last 3 years, coming out of COVID, starting up Kumite and the success of that. I mean, it's crazy to think that the first show they did, I was there at the first show in Pop World in Derby. I think it was Pop World. It was a horrible bar anyway. And there's maybe about 50 people max there to begin with the no ring stuff, and then now they've just announced tonight that their show at the end of the month sold out at Vines Bar. It's just it's a credit to them in terms of the hard work that they've put in to put on good quality matches and getting the right people in on their shows to create that buzz about them. And I think as well, just that it feels a little bit different with them as well, especially with them running out of Vines Bar, the outdoor venue. When you see that online, straight away it's a Kumite show, which I think is a cool thing as well. It makes it very unique.
Yeah, definitely. You can like say once your eyes, like as soon as you see it, it pops. It's like right, that's the brand. Like say it's recognizable from the word go. It's like okay, cool. That's what I think any wrestling promotion should be trying to do. Kind of thing. You should just be able to look at a video or clip and know straight away what promotion it is, what they do, what they offer, what they're about. And yeah, man, Kumite have absolutely smashed it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the show at the end of this month, and I mean, they're the ones that sort of gave me the entry into that kind of scene as well. Sort of, I can't remember whether it was last year or the year before now. My first match against Lou Nixon, just like a straight sort of wrestling match, no sort of weaponry involved, and I think me and Lou are from sort of similar backgrounds in terms of what we watched growing up, sort of the mixed martial arts, like watching like Pride over in Japan, early UFC, and then obviously ECW, all that kind of stuff. When we had that match, we were just on the same wavelength, and it was we got a good reception from it. But yeah, that was sort of my debut into that kind of scene, and it's quite funny actually because how I managed to get that. I feel like how I managed to get that gig was basically at my work. They were doing a big transition on T8 and T12 light tubes to these LED plastic ones. So they had like a bin full of them. It must have been like 120 light tubes, something like that. And I just went, I did it all by the book. I said, it's going to cost you to throw them away. I said, is it all right if I could have them? And I got a sign out for them and everything. And then just went straight round to Malachi's house and dumped like 120 light tubes on his doorstep.
That's awesome. They're like great first impressions. Like, yes, by the way, here's a shitloads of light tubes that you may feel free to use to whack people over the heads with, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Can I be on the show?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is the best. Yeah, just absolutely. I can't fault that logic at all. Like I said, that many tubes, that many lights. What's anybody going to do with them? You either going to throw them away or they're going to get used in a creative manner to cause destruction to somebody's head or back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's one of them. I always see, if I always see opportunities, I'll always take them. And when I saw all them light tubes that day, I just had like funnily enough, a light bulb moment. Pun, but where I just thought I know someone who could make best use of these, because if they're just going to go straight to landfill or recycling to be crushed, I said may as well, like you said, use them in a creative way to get rid of them, basically.
Love it. That's amazing. Talking obviously, we've just mentioned Rise as well. You was, I think it was at the end of, I was in May, wasn't it? Sorry, when you was in Wakefield with Rise, the no rope, no ring, against Caden. That's, I saw the poster for that, mate, and I popped. I was just like, that is going to be just, I mean, it's one of those shows, certain matches on certain shows where I can't get to sometimes because of basically being a dad. But I was legitimately good not to be able to get to that show because Wakefield's just down the road to me as well. So I was like, it was literally like 15 minutes down the road. And I was just like, oh, this is happening so close to me and I can't see it. And did you enjoy the match as much as you could do?
Yeah, it's one of them where I was taken completely out of my comfort zone with it because it was like a no ring, no rules scenario. So in that kind of situation, you've got to get creative because you haven't got any ropes or turnbuckles, all the usual, things you need to sort of create a match or create your sort of offense. So it was one of them where for the first time I had to really think about what I was going to do and what I could do that could work. So from like a creative standpoint, it was definitely took me out of my comfort zone. And I'd say with the previous match I've had in terms of like sort of extreme stuff like weaponry and that was probably like I'd say my first proper death match because there was there's all kinds of tubes and different stuff that we could use. So yeah, it was really fun, but then it was
you felt it.
it was enjoyable, but then at the same time, it really put my brain to the test in terms of getting them creative juices flowing, in terms of like doing something different or out of the box to entertain the crowd.
That's it. I mean, that's the thing as well. I mean, I think obviously it'll get taken for granted. You know, I mean, as a fan, we sort of see like, no ropes, and we're like, oh, that's kind of cool. But for you guys, that takes away freaking like 80% of, your movement, what you do in the ring, like bouncing off the ropes, hitting the ropes, your positioning. So I'm obviously as well guessing, the ropes are very much key for you kind of being able to move around the ring, like your positioning in transition and that kind of thing. So you got no ropes, you've got no kind of benchmark for the transitions.
Yeah, it's in that kind of situation, it's basically just a bar fight, really.
It just kind of made me think like, the early, like back in the day, when people started training and it was just like mats on the floor, you didn't get to train in a ring until you've been doing it for like a year or something. You can just imagine trying to like, work a match without a ring and just doing it on mats on the floor. I just kind of had that in my head.
Yeah, pretty much like that, I'd say. Trying to hit moves and stuff onto the floor, not fun, not nice, but necessary evil for the match, to be honest.
And that's where you're cursing like House of Pain for having such an awesome training facility. You're just like, damn it, if I'd have learned with just mats on the floor, I would have been more prepared for this.
Yeah.
Instead, they spoil you with a nice ring.
Yeah, Stick's definitely got us comfortable with the facility he's got now. I mean, he's built up over the years, but like he's definitely got one of the best facilities in the whole of the UK, I think. Because when you walk in there, the first impression is it feels like a proper PC, like what you see in the WWE and that, and some of these top promotions. So yeah, we're definitely spoilt there, because down to all the hard work that he's put in over the years, to be fair.
That's it. I mean, obviously, I mentioned Joey earlier. I've had Sash on, I've had CZ. I've had Adam Bolt, sorry. I've had numerous people from House of Pain. I think House of Pain, I'll always big up Pursuit and stuff, but House of Pain is up there as well with Pursuit and Future Shock and Northern Graft. I think, there's a handful of next level schools. There's a lot of good schools, but I think there's a handful of, like your freaking Omega schools kind of thing, the next level ones.
So, I mean, how many people are there out there realistically who have the amount of experience that Styx has? I mean, he's over 20 years in the business, and he's wrestled the likes of like Kevin Steen / Kevin Owens when he was on the Indies. He's wrestled Marty Jannetty. He's wrestled all these big names that are now in the WWE and performing all over the world. And just to tap into his brain for a couple of hours and get that feedback from him, and it's kind of cool, and as well, because you might go down there for an open session and you run like an idea past him, and then he'll give you like 6 different ideas off the back of that for all different kinds of wrestlers and stuff. And he's got such a wrestling sort of mastermind. It's crazy.
But like I said, it comes from experience. It comes from, like you said, the dude's got a wealth of knowledge like you can tap into. I know, like when we talked, I was just like, I had so many questions, but I was just like, I can't even begin to like start. It just ended up being like a chill conversation, just chatting wrestling kind of thing. But in the back of my head, I was like, I want to talk about, what was it like, facing this guy? What was it like facing this guy? What was it like facing this guy? And like I said, he's just been in there with a who's who. And for you guys to be able to tap up that kind of knowledge, yeah, man, that's priceless.
Yeah, 100%. It was sort of during the sort of pandemic era as well, because through our school we were doing online classes where he'd pick a match from a pay-per-view or a TV taping or something along them lines from maybe the WWE, and we'd spend like an hour and a half it'd be a 10-minute match, 15-minute match, but then we'd spend an hour and a half just talking about it and picking it apart and the finer details and things that you could take away to develop yourself as an in-ring performer. So yeah, it's good times.
That's awesome, that is. You mentioned it earlier. I wanted to bring it up. Obviously, Megaslam. Obviously, getting to work somewhere like Megaslam, I think, is again, it's like one of those things. I think it's priceless. You know, in the journey, it's priceless in your learning experience. You know, the guys you get to work with at Megaslam are, you know, some of the best of the best kind of thing, and the repetition and just the shifts you guys have to put in. It means that your trajectory goes up a lot quicker.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Brad, who runs Megaslam, I do owe a lot to him in terms of, you know, the opportunities he's given me, the amount of work that he's given me over the last 3 years, putting me in there with the likes of Styx, Kirby, Robbie X, Niwa, Rampage, Joey Hayes, Tucker. The list goes on and on and on of all these like great workers within the business and within the UK, and it's just putting in those reps and getting better and taking that advice from those people as well after matches, and taking advice from him as well in terms of how you can improve as an in-ring performer. And it's, you know, I do owe a lot to him, to be fair, because the amount of, like I said, the amount of work that he's given me is all been experience to make me a better wrestler. And I do feel that with that contribution, it's sort of exponentially sort of improves me as a performer, like 100%. Because some people are sort of lucky to get maybe up to four matches, 4 shows a month, whereas with Brad, I was doing maybe 10 to 12 a month, and then when you get to the summer period, I take 2 weeks off work and I do sort of like 15, 16 shows in 10 days or something along them lines, and it's all good experience to make yourself a better performer.
Definitely, dude, and that's exactly hit the nail on the head kind of thing. It's the reps. It's building your confidence. It's getting you that experience, and that's the kind of sort of stuff that can't be taken for granted. It's like, you know, you've done more in the space of a couple of months than some people are lucky to do it over 12 months. Which is why, you know, I'll shout back to what I said at the start of the episode. Is like, I kind of always thought you'd been around longer than you had, purely from watching you in the ring. Yeah, you don't seem like somebody who would have made the debut 3 years ago, and I'll put that down to, you know, like Megaslam and stuff, just with you doing those reps.
That's that. If you say that is quite a compliment, to be fair. You know, people saying that they think that you've been around for longer than you actually have. Like, to me, I'd take that as a positive, because it just shows how much you've managed to develop as a wrestler, performing in front of crowds like all over the country. And I think it's just a testament to somebody's hard work as well, in terms of, you know, I've trained at Future Shock, at New Wave, at PPW, elevation training in Leicester, at obviously House of Pain as well, like regularly, and being able to be in there with all these different people, giving you their points of view, people who have wrestled in Japan, wrestled in America, for some of the top promotions in the world, you know, that's all down to hard work and you putting in the effort to take in that knowledge and become a better performer.
Well, that's it. It's not just taking in the knowledge, dude. It's using the knowledge correctly, because you can take in so much information, but some of it might not be useful. But you're taking in the information and you're transforming it into something that's useful. You're transforming it into something that, you know, improves you, kind of thing. So that's kudos on you as a student, you know, learning the business kind of thing for me. And yeah, and it is meant as a compliment, dude. It's meant as a huge compliment. So that's me bigging you up, rightly so, I think.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's what we do. You mentioned elevation there. Obviously, it's always nice to hear when people sort of, you know, because I know every wrestler's kind of got their school, you know, that's where the love is, that's their home. But it's always nice to kind of branch out to see how other people do it, what other little bits of information you can get from elsewhere. I know a lot of people sort of, you know, encourage it and be like, yeah, look, go out, see what other people are doing, see what you can learn from them, bring it back, see if you can learn something different there that you can't learn here. It's all helpful. Obviously, you mentioned elevation. Joseph Connors would obviously be the Styx golden boy.
Yeah. And like you said about going away to different places to train, that's one thing Sticks is an advocate for. He's always said, I can only teach you sort of a couple of different styles, but you need to get out there to get these different flavors to then become a more well-rounded performer. And like you said, with Joe as well down at Elevation, he's just set up his sort of base now in Loughborough. Now he's doing regular training sessions there, and he's just another fountain of knowledge. I think he's been in 15, 16 years, maybe. I don't know. I can't be quoted on that, but he's.
Don't age him. He won't like it.
No. He's trained under the guide of William Regal, obviously at WWE. He's been. I think he's pretty much done everything you possibly could do around in the UK, and then obviously on TV as well. And I think he is sort of one of the best people in terms of the intricacies of a person's sort of character, the finer details. And when you watch him and his like raw emotion that he puts into like a promotional package or video, or when he's kind of addressing like somebody that he's having an upcoming match with, there's just this raw energy from him, and how he just draws you into the screen to see what he has to say. So I do like to try and pick his brain on that as well from time to time.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I've said it in the past, and I hope it doesn't get taken the wrong way. I'm not trying to say he is like a version of, but I always kind of limit. I like him to being like a British Adam Cole. I'm not saying he wants to be an Adam Cole. He's Joseph Connors. There's only one Joseph Connors. But when you make the comparisons, for me, it would be like, yeah, he very much reminds me of like that Adam Cole. He's just brains. Like you sort of said, he can pull you into a promo. He makes you believe everything 100%, and it's just like, yeah, it's intended as a compliment. But Joseph Connors for me is definitely one of the best this country has produced in a long time.
Oh, 100%. I just enjoy watching his matches, to be honest, and it's not blowing smoke up his ass or anything like that. But one that I remember quite vividly was him against Ricky Knight Jr. at BWR. I think it was for the title, and it was like he just completely like, it was as if he completely lost it. Him and Ricky Knight were just Jr. were just fighting around the ring. Ricky Knight took a backdrop onto a set of steps, and then you had Riley Nova, who's like his protege, there, and Joe was there, obviously there, in the entranceway, like pushing chairs out the way and telling people to go home and this and the other, and shouting at them, and it was just chaos. But I think that's what makes him so interesting and entertaining to watch, because he will do something different to what the rest of the card's doing to make his match stand out from the others. And
like all eyes on him kind of thing.
Yeah, and just thinking of creative ways to make the show different as well, I think, rather than seeing four of the same matches like all the way through. And then, not to say that was the case at that show, but what stands out for me from that show is that match, because it was so different to everything else.
No, I definitely do. Yeah, I know what you're saying, kind of thing. It's like I said, you can have 4 or 5 amazing matches, but there's that one thing that sticks in your mind. And if anyone's going to do it, Joe's going to do it, kind of thing. He'll be the guy that makes that moment that you go home thinking about. You'll think about that first, and then you'll think about the other matches afterwards. But that's always going to be your first point of call when you think about that show. And it's like, yeah, okay, well done. You did your job. Yeah. So that's what Joe does. Joe does it very well. So yeah, obviously, man, yeah, you've got plenty of people around to pick the brains, to train. You mentioned obviously your sort of new wave. It's another school as well that seems to be absolutely tearing it up at the minute. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Instagram from what they're doing in classes. They seem to be having a lot of fun and doing a lot of good stuff. And yeah, you mentioned obviously PPW as well.
Yeah, so I've been training down at New Wave quite regularly recently, trying to get down to their advanced and intermediate sessions. And I've done a couple of private sessions with Flash as well, and yeah, just like another great wrestling mind to pick the brain of. Now he's out there wrestling for TNA, and he's obviously worked for WWE. He's been to these big companies, and a hell of a lot of experience behind him as well. So he's really good in terms of I don't want to give away too many of his, not like secrets, but like the way he structures some of his sessions.
The psychology. Oh, the sessions. So yeah.
Yeah, so around the psychology that he's trying to enforce within the sessions as well. So we did a private session for tag team wrestling because there's a tag team there that wanted to try a few new things out, and he just gave us a task where you got to do an opening segment, opening of start of a match, but you can't do any strikes. And then you've got to really think about what you're doing behind that, because the first thing that most people do is they'll tag out, take a hold, and then make their tag partner give them a strike or something. So it's just doing things like that, which were like small little details, but then would make a match look completely different, if you know what I mean. So
well, yeah, because like I said, you're that accustomed to seeing this and this and this. As soon as you don't see it, it's like, oh, okay. Like even subconsciously, you pulled into it because it's something you've not seen before, and it's like, all right, you've got my attention's on it 110% now, because what the hell's going on? This isn't what I'm used to.
Yeah, and it's just little things like that will make a match a little bit different to what you're seeing from the rest of the card, which I think is really good. And then absolutely drills you with the opening warm-ups as well. I can't remember, there was one the other week, and I was blown up. I was blown out my ass. I couldn't believe it. Proper got me. But yeah, good fun. Great bunch of students down there as well, and there's always a good mix of experience levels there as well. So there's other people to work with and get ideas from as well, which I think is really good. And then PPW as well, another great training school. I haven't had a chance to go up to the new place yet, but the times I've been there, working with Liam Slater, being able to sit down with him and pick his brain about how my presentation as a wrestler to the crowd, and changing certain things up to make things a little bit different or a little bit more interesting as well. It's been great. And like I said, another school with a great bunch of people who train there of varying experiences. We've got the likes of Leon Slater there, amongst like World Cruise. You've got G Money as well, and Lycos too as well, all train there. Miles Kamen as well. So great bunch of people that train there. And it's just cool to I think it's great. I think it's a good thing for every person who's training, just to go out there and experience different schools and what they have to offer, and their level of experiences and their students, because ultimately I feel like nowadays, I don't know how it was in the past, because I've not been around for that long, but I do feel like by me going and training at other places, and this is sort of like the golden rule I give to anybody who's training at the moment, who's maybe about to debut or is a couple of matches in, is just go and train at other places. because what that does is it's showcasing yourself and your ability to be able to wrestle as well. And then when you go and help at other shows, whether it's the ring job or be a runner for someone, or working the camera or the lights or whatever, or the music, people will see you there and see that you're putting in the effort. But then they'll also be like, oh, it's that guy who came to train with us, who's actually all right, and it all helps. It all helps because you're gaining a rapport with different people from all over the country, and it can't do you any harm, really. It's all positive.
It's all networking.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, so many people have said to me as well, like freaking, I don't know, 87% of the business is, you could put an absolute shift in at training. You could put an absolute, shift in on shows. You've got to network. You've got to kind of, get yourself out there, go to another school, go to another show, like say, help out in any way, shape or form. Just show your face, then the promoter knows you, heaven forbid anybody has to drop out of his show. But if they do, that guy that was there last time helped us out. Yes, right, get him on the phone.
Yeah. And that's the other golden rule as well. Always bring your gear because you never know. You never know.
The unwritten rule of the book.
Yeah.
Always have your gear. Like I said, it's just putting a shift in. I think I was talking to like Tim Strange about it, and he was sort of saying, it's just the miles you have to put in, the hours you have to put in, kind of thing. It's like the commitment. It's like, not to be spiritual. Some people can't. They've got families, they've got commitments. That is what it is. They're kind of at a station. But if you want to get to the next level, you've got to put the miles in. You've got to put the hours in. You've got to travel, kind of thing. And you've got a network. Yeah,
the traveling stuff for me, it's just part and parcel of it. I knew it was going to be a factor when I started training to wrestle, basically, because in a previous life I was in bands like hardcore and metal bands, and we went and toured around Europe, around the UK. Regularly go up to Glasgow, playing shows up there. Been around the south of Spain, Eastern Europe, the whole lot, and that you're in a van with like 10 other guys for sometimes 14, 16 hours driving from one end of Spain to northern Germany for a show or whatever. And I think as well with the traveling, I always see that as a positive as well, because you might end up in a car with a bunch of strangers you never met before, but guarantee if you're on a 4 or 5 hour journey, you've just made like 4 new friends in that day. Because it's like, for instance,
experience as well. You get to pick their brain. You never know what kind of useful advice they might have.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when I debuted for Bleeding Gums on their first show, it was me, Big Fucking Joe, Alton Thorne, and Radu. I think on the way up there. It's a 6 hour journey, and I didn't realise that basically myself and Joe basically grew up listening to exactly the same music. So we just talked about that for hours, and then I feel like we became really good friends off the back of it. And that's one good thing about the wrestling scene, I think, is that you end up making like a lot of friends and a few friends for life. I'd say off the back of it, and it can only be seen as a positive thing.
Of course it can, man. Like you sort of said, you're meeting like-minded people. At the end of the day, you've all got one thing in common to talk about, if anything else, where we can talk wrestling. But when you find out, like you said, you've got somebody who's got a common interest in like music, or if it was me, kind of like if somebody started talking to me about a certain selection of films, I'd just be like, oh, we just become best friends, kind of thing. It's that kind of. And when that happens, dude, that's a huge positive. That's awesome. You know what I mean? You just get to make new friends, meet people that you can just chat shit with about stuff that you're interested in. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's That's the I think that's the thing that me and Joe Connor's got a strong bond on is, like I said, films. Like he's a big fan of cinema, and I am too. And that's another great thing about Nottingham as well. We've got so many indie sort of playhouses that show, not your average like films and stuff. It's another positive to. I'm trying to sell everyone should move to Nottingham or anything like that, but I'm just saying for me and my personal preferences, it's perfect. If the
make me home good.
Yeah. If there's a film that comes out that's not strictly going to be at, Odeon or Showcase Cinema, I can guarantee that it'll be on at Broadway down in the city centre. And the great thing about it is I can have a pint whilst I watch it as well.
Oh, dude. It's legitimately making me just like, not to besmirch Leeds, not to besmirch my family and everybody that's up here, but I'm just like, nah. If I'm gone tomorrow, I'm back in Nottingham. I've done one. I've run away. I've run home to the motherland. But yeah, that's it exactly. That's cool to know about Joe as well. Anybody who loves films is a-okay in my book. I'm just a massive film geek, massive film nerd. So, like I said, get to travel, get to pick the brains. So yeah, it's second nature for you then, dude. If you was in a band, like say touring Europe in a van with like 10 other people, this is a freaking walk in the park for you.
Yeah, true. And that's the thing, like with the music as well. Like one of my best friends lives in Nottingham, and we got to know each other through being in bands and then doing tours together around Europe. And then as soon as I found out that one of his favourite bands was Slayer, it was like, well, we're now best friends for life. That's it now.
It's like that moment from Step Brothers. It's like, did we just become best friends? It's like, yes, that's the one. But yeah, I think you and Isaac North need to have like an air guitar off.
Yeah.
Before you have like a hardcore match or something. I want to see you and Isaac North face to face now. Just purely because he used to be in a band as well, and I just think it'd be cool.
Yeah, I could shred like a solo and just whack him over the head with the guitar at the end of it or something. That'll be the pop.
Was you the guitarist in the band? Just to get a bit more. So did you play guitar in the band?
Yeah, so I play guitar. If we've still got music on Spotify, so if anyone wants to listen to it, I was in a straight edge hardcore band called Survival back in the day, and then there was straight edge metal band called Billow as well. We basically based that band off bands like New York hardcore bands like Irate and Everybody Gets Hurt, but then we were massive Nile fans as well. So there's this mixture of like Nile Egyptian influence, like hardcore metal. It's a bit of a concept, but if you like beat downs and stuff like that and heavy metal, then I thoroughly endorse you going into it.
Can you send me the links on Twitter messages after we've talked, and I'll put them in the video description. I'll put links to the Spotify pages in the video description. So anybody who's watching that wants to go check it out, please do so. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, sure thing.
Cheers, dude. Obviously, Isaac played bass, so we can have a guitar, bass off.
And then we just need to find a drummer then, and we can have a triple threat.
Just a couple of drumsticks like. Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing. But that kind of tallies in then with the because obviously, he was on about being on stage in front of the audience, in front of a crowd, as being part of a band. Yeah. When he started wrestling, I presume the same for you. When you sort of stepped out in front of a crowd, it wasn't as daunting. It's kind of like, oh no, it's different. It's not the same as being in a band, but you're used to having eyes on you.
Yeah, like that was the funny thing about the first couple of shows I had. People going, "Oh, you're shitting yourself. It's like funny stuff," and I would just be like, "Nah, I've done this before. Like I've played like festivals like Outbreak Fest before, sort of years ago, and they were sort of like 400 or 500 people there going crazy, and and it's just one of them where people that I always have it in my head that, you know, if something goes wrong in a match or when you're playing a song or whatever, it's no one's going to notice apart from yourself. Like everybody else is just going to be really into it. So if you make a mistake, so what? You know, you've just got to improvise at the time and try and get things back on track. It's no big deal. But I know that some people do have that kind of fear. But I think through the years of just playing in bands and playing so many shows, it just kind of that kind of just left me in terms of like something that would be daunting in my mind.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like you sort of said, you've got that experience. Like you sort of said, most people, if they didn't know any better, if they make a mistake, man, it'd be so easy just to freeze up and be like, shit, everybody heard that mistake or everybody saw that mistake. Whereas in actual fact, like I said, nobody probably would have clocked it. And if you just crack on, forget about it, just go and pick up where, and then, yeah, as a fan, we're none the wiser. And you can be like, right, sorted. But that won't happen again, but it's covered.
Yeah, exactly. As long as you don't make a deal out of it, no one will notice. No one will know.
Yeah, don't have a paddy about it. Don't suddenly be like, I fucked up, and then walk off or something. So, but yeah, like I say, that whole being in front of a crowd, working an audience, having the eyes on you. Like I say, it must just be good to like I said, to have that experience. You know, it's less daunting, and it's in comparison as well. You know, wrestling fans, as loud and as ruckus as we can be, I'm only guessing we paying in comparison to, you know, the audience that came to see the bands.
Yeah, it's one of them. I think
we're not going to throw stuff at you.
Yeah, certain crowds, certain sort of genres of music versus certain genres of wrestling. I think there's some definitely overlap there. When you look at say like the deathmatch audiences and sort of the over 18 stuff, that was very much similar to the crowds I get when I was playing in bands. But yeah, it's kind of cool really, because it kind of takes you back a little bit to them days when you come out and everyone's just boozed up, rowdy as fuck, like going mental, you know. I do love it. It is fun when it's at that kind of atmosphere, because I feel like when you step out and the audience is like that, they're sort of baying for blood a little bit. It sort of gets you back up a little bit, and I feel like you just let yourself go that little bit more, and you know, there's a bit more emotion involved when you're out there in the match. Definitely.
It fires you up. It definitely fires you up, I can imagine, and just be like, right, okay, the adrenaline kicks in, like, you know, a few minutes early, and yeah, like you say, just go hell for leather, and you know, came here to take names and chew gum, or kick ass and chew gum, and you're all out of gum, so let's just go kick some ass.
Yeah,
as a wise man once said.
Yeah, so, very wise man.
Pulling it back to, I didn't get a chance to sort of mention him earlier. You was all about Megaslam, you know, doing this, that, and the other there. And obviously, one of the names that jumped out, you mentioned Joey Hayes. I love Joey Hayes. Joey's an absolute boss. But the other name that jumped out for me was Martin Kirby.
Yeah.
That must have been, for me, he is, you know, he's up there with like the Dean Allmarks, Joey Hayes. He's one of the most underappreciated British wrestlers, purely for the fact of he's one of the best. But yeah, he never got the NXT UK thing. He did really well with World of Sport. But he's definitely, for me, not enough people sing Kirby's praises. He should be in everybody's top 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, to be fair, because obviously he went over to Japan. He spent time in Japan wrestling. Wrestled every single person in the UK, I think, now. He must have, surely, with the amount of reps that he gets in, still, even now. And I've had the pleasure of him down at House of Pain for seminars. going through the Dragon Gate stuff and what they did over there, which was really really good. Some good knowledge was shared that day, 100%. And then having the pleasure to wrestle him as well after being a fan myself, watching him on What Culture Wrestling, with his feud with Joe Connors and stuff, and then being able to actually stand across the ring from him was like one of them sort of bucket list moments for me in wrestling, 100%. And had some great singles matches with him as well. Just so much fun to work with, and and if you ask him to watch your match and get feedback as well, he's there for you, and he'll give you like the finer details to go away and work on as well. Just an all round awesome guy, to be honest. Can't say I don't think there's anybody who can say a bad word about him, because he's just a top bloke, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I just wanted to. Like I said, anytime I get to mention Kirby, I'm always going to hype him up. I recently saw him against Brady Phillips, True Grit kind of thing, and that was Brady. You can imagine what kind of match those two guys would have had together.
Yeah, I actually watched that on the live stream because I knew that those two guys were going against each other, and it was a fantastic match, really good match. Like towards the end of that match and those near falls, sort of the tight roll ups and stuff that they got, they even had me. I was like, oh my days! I thought that was it then. Yeah,
dude. If they're getting you, imagine how just a layman fan is reacting. You know what I mean? You know the little tales here and there, and they're convincing you it's going to be like, dude, man, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like shouting at the TV.
Yeah, like if you get them two in a ring, you're going to have a great match. Like it's guaranteed, isn't it? Yeah, two great performers right there.
Definitely. Mentioned it beforehand as well. Obviously, you've been through Tidal a few times. Hoping to see you. Have you got? I kind of always like to ask this question, but I hate to ask it because it kind of feels like I'm putting you on the spot. I'm trying to make you pick promotions. To be like. But have you got anything you want to do? Anywhere you want to pop up halfway through the year? Where do you want to cause some mischief in the next 6 months?
Good question. I know there's certain opportunities that might potentially come up, but I'll just have to wait and see whether they'll come to fruition. But 100% True Grit, because I think True Grit have got one of the best. I think it's one of the best promotions in the North right now. Not that, for me, they're a sort of standout in terms of the variety of talent that they have on the show, the presentation of the show, the storylines, and the matches that they have as well. I was there at the weekend helping out, and the Brady versus Scotty match was great. Obviously, you had the four-way, the big meaty man Hoss match between Tim Strange, Cruz, Nathan Black, and HT Drake, which was fantastic. They always have something there for everyone, which I think is only a good thing. And if Sash manages to get his way, you might see me pop up there in the next couple of months. And then
his music.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a little funny noise of excitement. Yeah. Oh.
And then I'd love to return to Rise as well, because it's one of the wildest shows that you'll see in the UK. And then obviously, I'm a regular at Kumite, and what we've got coming up to the end of the year is going to be fantastic. And then there's TNT as well. So on the extreme side, I'd love to debut for TNT. Obviously, the return of Drew Parker there. You've got Emerson Jane there. Charlie Evans has recently wrestled there, and then you've got all the UK group that regularly do this sort of more extreme stuff there. It's just hive of activity around that, around the UK in terms of the deathmatch stuff. And there's so many names there that I'd love to work with, and hopefully I get them opportunities coming up throughout the rest of the year with I feel the big four for those kind of shows, being a part of those. So we'll see. And then
that's a good shout, man. That's a very good shout. Sorry, dude, not to cut you off, but obviously just before, we talked about some promotions you want to, go to, but first and foremost, priority's got to be defending that future title.
Yeah, so obviously 22nd of June, it's me versus Alton Thorne. I mean, people have seen me and him face off against each other all over the country, from Scotland down to Sutton and Ashfield, all over the place. And we get to go again. But this time there's a bit of silverware on the horizon there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. With it being Kumite the following day, there could be a tendency for it to get a little bit extreme, a little bit hardcore. But obviously there's families there as well, so it's still gonna be a little bit tame. But if any of the Kumite horde fancy coming down the day before, staying over in a cheap hotel or whatever, and see me and Alton Thorne basically beat the shit out of each other for this title for less than £10, and they're more than welcome to come down to Sutton and Ashfield. So we'll see.
Why would you not? That's the question. Yeah. Why would you not? But like you said, with Kumite the next day, dude, it's got to be hard to shifting gears, because obviously you've got that in your head. Like tomorrow, it must just be very easy just to change gear and then be like, whoa, no, step back, right? Kind of there might be a few kids in the audience here. I've kind of got to rein it in on a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Alton. He brings that kind of energy because he's the king freak. He takes great pleasure in covering people in nettles and making them feel that pain. So and when we've had matches before, it's got a bit out of hand. I mean, I've put him through a merch table in one of our matches, and there's been chairs involved and all sorts. So he kind of brings out that. I feel like I'm his Triple H to his Cactus. And
yes.
If that kind of if that's the way that they want to go down in terms of let's take the reins off these two, and we want to make it a street fight, we can make it a street fight if they want to. I don't mind. I've been through the ringer a few times with the likes of Michael Caden and Lou Nixon and Alton himself. So pain isn't new to me.
Pain is no stranger, my friend. Pain is no stranger. You even made me do the Home Alone thing at the thought of that. It's like, just you in Alton street fight. I'm just like, oh mate. I've just clocked the time as well. I'm just like, so much stuff I still want to go over, but we'll save it for a part 2 at some point if you're up for it.
Yeah, 100% up for it.
Awesome, because I don't like keep people more than an hour too much, but mate, that has absolutely flown by. Like I said, I just clocked the time. I was like, I'm sure I've got probably 40 minutes in. Nope, over an hour. Shit, right, okay, there we go. But that's I'm looking forward to that. Like Alton's another guy as well, though. I'm gonna have to sort of not up or shut up, and I'll just drop him a message and speak to him. Might try and arrange it for after you guys have had that match for the future title, and sort of see if I can console him after his loss or congratulate him on his win.
You'll definitely be consoling him, don't you worry about that.
Yes. Oh no, not yes. I'm not saying that. No, just dude. Do you want to plug the socials? Let people know where they can sort of see what you're up to and what you've got coming up.
Yeah, so basically I'm mainly on Instagram I don't really spend too much time on X, but it's the same handle for both, which is Franco_Fate. But they're the two. I think I'm too old for TikTok, and I don't know if there's any other social media platforms out there. But yeah, Instagram mainly for me. I'm always popping up in my stories as to where I'm going to be next, and links to tickets and stuff, if it's in your local area. So yeah, just hit me up on Instagram, and then you'll be able to see if I'm going to be in a town near you.
Awesome. I will get my Insta guy Ash on that tomorrow when I upload the episodes. Again, just so there's no confusion, I don't do the Instagram. My man Ash does it. He does an amazing job on there. Like, the dude's just so into wrestling, into like, it's like 20 stories a day just about random shit that's going on in the wrestling world. I couldn't do that. It blows my mind. So he will hit you up tomorrow on Insta. I will hit you up on Twitter. So feel free to repost if and whenever you're next on Twitter. That's fine.
Definitely.
And so if you're not following Franco, please do follow him on Insta. Like I say, view his stories, see where he's at. If he's at a show near you, buy a ticket, go see some awesomeness, whether it's death matches, whether it's just feuds, whether it's storytelling, whatever the hell it is. Go watch it, buy a ticket, be entertained, and buy the man a beer. Well, I'm saying that you mentioned earlier about people buying you beer after a show, but then you mentioned you was part of a straight edge thing years ago. So I don't want to tell people to buy you a beer if it's still a straight edge mentality.
Yeah, well, I used to be straight edge. I don't know whether you said if you're straight edge once, you were never straight edge at all. That's what I was told by a band called Brotherhood. But funny story around that. I always said to my best friend that if he was ever to get married, and I thought he was never going to get married. I said, if you're going to get married on the stag do, I'll have a beer. And then I'm his best friend, so I had to be held myself to account, and I had to have that beer. So 10 years down the line of being straight edge, I ended up having to have a pint of beer in Prague. So yeah.
Oh, if you're going to do it anyway, mate, that's a good place to do it. In Prague or Bruges, that'd be my two picks for a cheeky beer. For a cheeky first beer, that'd be amazing. But yes, so go give the man a handshake and tell him he's done an awesome job. I won't encourage you buying a beer, but pick him up, show him some love if you see him at a show. Hit like, hit subscribe, do all the generic stuff I tell you to do after every episode. Thanks for watching. Hit like. Keep your eyes peeled. I've got some more awesome guests coming up. My mind has gone totally blank now as to who I'm going to be speaking to on Wednesday. It'll be somebody cool. I know it will be. So thank you for watching. Franco, most importantly though, thank you for talking to me. Thank you for taking the time out just to have a chat.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for the time. Much appreciated. It's been good. Enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad you've enjoyed it, mate. That's always the key thing. That's what I always strive for. As long as you've had fun, we've had a good old chit chat, and we've just talked wrestling. And yeah, we'll have to save it for part 2. As soon as you mentioned you're into films, but I'm like, I want to talk music. I want to talk ECW. I want to talk early UFC days with you. I want to talk Stephen Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner and that fight and all that kind of sort of stuff. So we'll put a pin in it, and it will be to continued.
Yeah, 100%. Looking forward to it.
Dude, thank you so much, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Catch you later.